Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here.
And you've worked for some great guys like we talked about, and so you've probably seen some awesome standards and pillars from them, but now you're getting this opportunity at a great school to set your own. So what are the standards and pillars of your program?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're very similar to most people. I would assume, hard work is a non-negotiable, right? I mean, you have to work hard when you're in practice. I think the thing that's changed since I was in college, because I always tell people, like, I never worked on my game individually in college. Never. Very rare. Now, we couldn't even work with the coaches in the summer back then.
Yeah.
But what we did was we played pickup every day. And our pickup games weren't for 45 minutes. They were for 2 hours. And we would play games best of 11. I mean, we'd have 10 guys out there and you're just playing best of 11 and you're playing a series. And so, like, it was different, right? Well, like I tell everybody, I don't particularly like working on individual skill in practice, because now it takes practice from 2 hours to 2 hours and 30 minutes to 2 hours and 40 minutes. And it becomes too long for everybody. So my deal is, let's compete, let's get after it, let's be efficient in practice. So now you have to come back on your own and get some work in on your own, right? Whether that's the gun, whether that's a manager rebounding for you. It's not that you're out there getting a whole nother 45-minute, workout in. You're just getting the shots up that you used to do in practice back in the day when we do 4 or 5 shooting drills, or you'd shoot free throws in the middle of practice. Like stuff that I just think you're at this point, I think you're better off being competitive in the practice segment, because everybody works on their own now. That's just like part of the deal. So, the hard work, I think, is something that, is always going to be, very important and a pillar in our program. You have to be coachable. Look, if you're not coachable, then ultimately you're A, not going to play, and B, you're just not going to be here very long. It's too hard to be good and to win championships if you're fighting your players to listen to what you're saying. So being coachable is extremely important. And then being a great teammate. The one thing, I was a point guard, I was a coach's son. I could connect a team pretty well. I wasn't the best player by any means in college. I was a connector. I was a voice. I was competitive, all those things. The one thing I always thought that I was good at was being a great teammate, right? And it just was something that felt like I did naturally. Yeah. And as a coach, when you start transitioning to that, you kind of lose sight of it because you're not in it with your teammates. So you can kind of lose sight of, like, dapping people up or telling people good pass or good shot or whatever it may be that you're talking to and you're communicating with your own teammates. And that's the one thing with Coach McCaslin, like, that really, he took it to a whole nother level that I hadn't even really been a part of, because you just assume it happens until you start watching it and you're like, man, it's not happening.
Gotcha.
So, like when we're doing drills where it's just 2-on-0 or 3-on-0 or whatever it may be, and somebody makes a pocket pass and he finishes with the dunk, like immediately, as soon as you land, you're pointing and you're yelling good pass, right? Or if you miss a shot, you're not worried about the shot you just missed. You're telling your teammate good pass, because whenever you do that, it takes the selfishness away from, well, I just missed a shot, and now you can move on to the next play a little easier, right? And so those were all things that we really harped on a lot in practice. Like, who passed you that, right? Because a lot of, everybody, they miss a shot. What do? They either put their head down, or they want to, wipe their hands or something silly, right?
That's right. I can't believe I missed a shot. It's the first time it's ever happened.
Come on, man, you're gonna miss shots. Be a good teammate.
Yeah.
Like be a great teammate. And when you're a great teammate, then I think it connects everybody together. And those are when you can handle, the adverse situations that always arise within a team. Toughness and grit. Every team I've ever been on or coached or been a coach on that's been successful has had those two things. If you're not tough, you don't have any grit on a consistent basis, then ultimately when things get hard, you fold. It's not that complicated. It's not necessarily easy to get toughness and grit. I think that's where the accountability piece is important, in the confrontation of, okay, well, you're not doing this right. We're going to do it until we do it right. And I think that's how you build your toughness. That's how you build your grit. You just keep fighting them every day, until eventually it just kind of becomes who they are, right? And then the last thing that by far and large, Coach McCaslin's the best I've ever been around at doing this is belief. A word that's thrown around a lot. Oh, you don't believe in me. The belief when we left meetings or when Coach Mack talked to the team, or after practice, verbalizing after games, whatever it was, scouting reports, you never, ever left those meetings not in complete belief that we were going to win. Ever. Never once were you like, we're not going to win. Because his ability to make you believe in the plan, okay, in your teammates, in winning a game, whatever it may be, was at the most highest elite level that I've ever been around. And so if you don't have that belief as a program, then you don't have toughness and grit. Then you're not coachable because you don't believe in the plan, right? So there's so many things that go into the belief part, but it was by far one of the best things that Coach Mack has ever done in the 7 years that I worked with him is his ability to make people believe in what we're doing and how we're going to do it, and we're going to win.
Great list. And I wrote down a few things to go back over. This may be tough, the belief part. And a person like Coach that you said he's the best ever. He can do that. Well, as Gannon Baker said, you can't coach something you don't possess. So how, as a coach, do you build that ability to get others to believe in the vision, to bring them in?
Man,
And might be tough.
that's a great question. It's probably one that I'm going to have to figure out myself. Naturally, as a coach, especially as an assistant, I've always been worst case scenario, right? I've always tried to think, okay, what could go wrong here so I can try to prepare to fix it if it does happen, right? So that's
which is valuable, because it's not, I wouldn't call that being pessimistic. I just like, you want to be like, it's a very much point guard way of, to me, looking at it, is going into it like, hey, like if they do this, I have to be prepared and counter with this. And so because I think I may be on the other side sometimes. I don't feel like I'm a very good scout, because I watch a few minutes. I'm like, oh, well, we're going to blow that up. Like they're going to struggle with this against us. And then I need my assistant coaches that I think have a better lens, kind of like yours, that will say, well, man, this could be a problem. The way that they're doing this, like we have to be prepared for that. So I don't look at that as bad. The one I try to answer the question a little bit myself of when you walk into a meeting with your team and your coaches, and I want them to leave believing in this vision that we have for maybe even this practice or this next game, or even just the culture style of play. I think there has to be a genuine alignment within you.
Oh yeah.
It has to be authentic to who you are and what you believe as a coach of how basketball can be played. Because I think this, right? Like they will smell a fraud or fear or someone that's not being genuine. So like, how does Coach Mack get to do that? I think he genuinely believes in what he's talking about, right? So that's one part, but keep going.
Yeah, no, I mean, A, he's done it a long enough time.
Sure.
And B, he's won everywhere he's ever been. So there is a genuineness about how he feels about that, because he knows what works, he knows what doesn't work. But to answer your question, like the things that come to my mind when you ask that question, whether it's right or wrong, the thing that comes to my mind is being confident and steadfast in what you're saying.
Yeah.
If you're out there stuttering around, if you're kind of like, you say something and then 4 minutes later in your talk, you contradict what you said, that's where it can get a little bit.
I thought you said we're doing this.
Exactly.
You lost it, man. You lost it right there.
Yep. So, and look, Coach Mack he's a preacher by nature. His father was a preacher.
It's kind of not fair to compare yourself to him or Coach Tang or Paul Mills. Like all
Yeah.
of those dudes, I literally watched the other two preach in front of us, and I thought they're incredible. I can't do that. I can't. So keep going.
Yeah, no, I mean it's what he is. He's a preacher by nature. So he can go up there and he'll tell you himself before practice. He'd be like, all right, we're gonna talk. We're gonna be in the film room for 30 minutes of 10 minutes talk, 20 minutes film, and we're all kind of looking at him like, sure, there's no way we're gonna be in there for 30 minutes. We may be in there 30 minutes listening to you talk, but he knows, he's self-aware that he can talk for a long time, and he can start to. When he talks, he can start to talk in circles, and then he can also feel it, and he can redirect it right back to where it needs to be. And he's not leaving this. Another thing that he is not leaving the front of that room until he can look at everybody in the face and know that his message was received. If there's one guy that did not receive the message, he will stand up there. He will continue to beat at that message until that person's body language or expression has gotten to the point where he feels like they've accepted it. And that's something that I don't think many coaches can do. I really don't. I think it's a special characteristic, but it's something that I think a lot of people should strive to do, because when you can get everybody on the same page and everybody believing and rowing in the same direction, man, special things can happen. And he's a living proof of that.
Maybe some people naturally have that ability. That's almost salesmanship, but not in a negative way, right?
Yep.
But I also feel like that's something that can grow with time and experience. And the more that you're standing in front of teams, I think the better you'll get, the more you understand who you are and how you want your team to play. And one thing where you said those two things, steadfast and confident, I think you nailed it right there. Like that is how you have to present yourself. But what my thought is, okay, well, how do you get that? You have to be prepared. You have
No
to put in
question.
the time. If you haven't really done the scout, if you don't really know how to teach it, and you're going in and you're hoping it's going to work out, it's probably not. And the steadfast part too is almost, and this is just something I've liked to do over the years with parents, is almost be a little bit of a prophet. And kind of what you had said about, guys, here's some probably mistakes we're going to make with this, but that's okay. Like for our style of play, I tell parents turnovers are going to be really high and shooting percentage is going to be really low. But that's all right. Like we're going to stick through that because we know that in December, in January, man, that's going to flip around. It's really good to be able to say that before those things happen, because you keep a little bit, I think, of your credibility, and you allow yourself the ability to keep working through those mistakes, to be steadfast and confident. Like, hey, you're like Gannon Baker said too, you're celebrating the try while they're doing these things, and it may not look great. And Tyler Costin also said, or Mark Cassio, like if you as a coach want practice to look great, then you're not understanding what practice is all about. It's supposed to be messy and it's supposed to be ugly, but that's where then when it is, that belief in you and that ability not to waver has to come in.
Yeah, and I think you said it in terms of like your style of play, and like these things are going to happen and it's okay because December, January, February, like it'll flip. Well, I think it's a lot easier to go in and be confident and steadfast. And you said it, so I'm kind of repeating it, but it's when you have the proof of concept, right? Where this did go really poorly November, December for 3 straight years, and then January, February it flipped, right? Or whatever it may be, that proof of concept is so important to get guys to believe in the first place.
And maybe a little bit, especially early on as a younger coach, you might be that duck on the pond. Like you're trying to act all calm, but underneath, you are. I was a little bit terrified. I was 30 years old. It was my first game at Faith as a head coach. And I had been with Wes Watson at McKinney High School for 5 years. And we had been running and gunning and I'd seen it work. But, 6A public school, 5A taps, different type of players and athletes. Like, could this really work? And sure enough, like we came out and shot with a lot of courage, but not a lot of makes. That first quarter was terrifying. I thought, oh, what have I done? What have I done? It turned around. It went better. But there is that part where you may have to believe a little bit while you're learning and proving the concept. But then, I don't know, so much of this, it's all gain. It's like experience. Wow, I need to be a head coach to gain experience, but you don't want to go through all the trials and all the tough times that it takes.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.